Charles, you wrote a piece in Slate saying, quote, any solution to America's policing problem will require widespread acceptance that the issue is systematic and not limited to simply a few bad apples. Arguably, the biggest obstacle to policy is a resistance to acknowledge that the problems within policing are cultural and systemic. It is even possible to fix a police system that's broken, or does the institution need to be ripped up from the roots and changed completely?
Well, Jason, I'm speaking as a former prosecutor here, and I can tell you that what you just said is absolutely right. Policing in America, as we know it, does not have a future in terms of its humanity, in terms of its feigning civility. None of it has a future. And so the only hope is to uproot it from the ground up and start over and build something better, given what we learned with this failed experiment in American policing. It's very clear that the issue with policing in America is systemic and it's cultural. Police in America are not cultured in a spirit of protection or service. They are cultured in a spirit of violence. And that is very clear from what we continue to see with respect to police violence in America among all people, but particularly among people of color. Until we are willing to accept that, until we are willing to address that on a widespread basis and stop trying to isolate these incidents into one or two bad apples, we will continue to have this problem. And at this point, anyone who stands in the way of accepting that reality is actually enabling further police violence against people and against free people in America.
Look, a lot of police officers are trained sort of with this idea of your job is to get home, right? Not necessarily protect, but it's to get home safely, regardless, do what you got to do to get home. But the other problem that we're seeing with this is we don't even know or wouldn't know about many of the abuses of police against regular people in America if they weren't able to be filmed. Right now, we have a situation where the ACLU is actually suing, and news organizations are suing the state of Arizona because they passed a law that would ban filming within 8 feet of law enforcement. Brittany, you've been in this fight longer than probably anybody here. What would have been the impact if laws like this were the case in Georgia and Florida and Missouri? If there had been laws passed that says that you can't film within 8 feet of police action?
I mean, we'd continue to see, frankly, what we're seeing now in terms of the expansiveness of police violence, but we wouldn't be able to do nearly what we're doing about it. And I have to re-emphasize what Charles already said. Even with the video cameras, even with cell phones, and even with police knowing that there's always the potential for them to be filmed, even with plenty of them wearing body cams, they are still behaving in this way. And so, yes, we have to talk about and protect the citizens' ability to question, to push back, to film our law enforcement should they actually exist. But we also have to think beyond that. This is a time when our political imagination should be running wild. This is a great time for us to realize that just because something has been true for the better part of our lives, it doesn't always have to be true. So this week, we realized that, yes, the government can actually cancel our debts. Just like they forgave PPP loans, they can cancel student loan debt. And yes, we can build new systems of public safety that do not involve the police. Because if cameras were a deterrent alone, frankly, we would have seen massive police reform after the beating of Rodney King, which, lest we forget, was caught on video camera. This is not operating as the deterrent that reformers promised it would. And I used to be one of those folks. Right. I stand firmly in the belief that we can live in a world without police and that we can be safe all on our own.